5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Sync.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's time for yet again another cringy intro. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Eljay.
I'm Var.
I am Meso.
And I'm Prpl.
And we are the masters of Hajitsu.
Way to screw it up.
Yeah.
And this is.
And we are.
I totally forgot.
Masters of Bajitsu.
I forgot to say this is NinjagoCast.
Can I do the intro from now on?
Yeah, like, I think.
No way.
I want to go all like super awesome like.
This is why
Eljay
Eljay is not the host of BrickFeed.
Masters of Bajitsu.
See, listen, I will give NinjagoCast to Var.
Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Var.
I
Var
will
actually
get
has to be
BrickFeed.
here on a regular basis in order for him to do
I
it.
have literally been in every single episode. What do you mean?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Something
What,
like
he's
you're
actually
what
been
choking.
radio.
do you mean?
It's supposed to be a joke
Prpl, it
about how
sounded
you
like you were
aren't
just
usually on the
choking on your own
podcast, but you've
hubris.
kind of been on
I
the
have
podcast
been on
for
it.
a
I
while.
haven't missed a single episode of this.
Yeah, no, he has done a good job. Thank you, Var.
I am probably like I'm on practically every podcast all the time. What are you
Nowadays,
talking
yeah.
about? What do you mean nowadays?
There
we're
were
dark
times when
periods.
you would skip.
Prpl, when was the last TTV podcast episode you were on?
I don't want to know.
You don't know because
So-
it's been a while. Hey, what was the last BrickFeed episode you were on besides today's?
Well, actually, I think she was on last week.
I
think she was.
I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
I don't
she
know.
wasn't.
But in any case, we have some clarifications from last week's episode. There are some questions we had, and there are some answers we now have. So, I tweeted at Tommy Anderson regarding Amber, and my stretch of a guess was basically correct. The entire idea behind it was Amber captures things, preserves things.
It contains things.
Contains, yeah. So,
Fair enough.
there you go. That answers that.
It's a stretch, but at least now we know.
She contains the elements and then uses them. Huge stretch, by the way.
But it works.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Let me see. Something else he said that elemental masters age slower than normal humans.
Okay.
What?
Yes.
That's a really
and so-
weird thing to not make apparent in your show.
Yeah, it's like they needed a quick reason as to why, like, the characters aren't aging that much. It's like, oh
Why
yeah,
would
they just don't.
Would they do they just assume that the audience is going to pick up on that?
They
I
assume
don't know.
the audience is going to make a ton of theories about it.
Additionally,
That's a really weird answer.
you guys are going to love this. According to this comment by Superfan, by the way, thank you, the ninja are still teenagers, and they're definitely not 40. Now, he doesn't source this, but I presume it comes from somewhere.
What does... Okay. So they're
I'm gonna
not
use that.
40,
Nice to know.
but they're still teenagers.
I'm gonna use that from now on when I just find random facts on the internet. He didn't source this, but I'm pretty sure it came from somewhere. Like the poster's imagination.
Wait, okay,
that is
so like... Well, okay, so they're not 40, they're still teenagers, but if they age slower because they're elemental masters, wouldn't that mean that they could be teenagers and still be 40?
Hypothetically, yes.
How long have you been 40?
Yeah, how long are their lives? What is it like to age as an elemental master?
These are the kind of questions that we ain't gonna get answers to. Ever.
Like, they totally could be 40. We wouldn't know. This makes no sense. Why? What is having elemental powers?
They were
have to
also
do with your
kids
age?
at one. Well, see, this is the thing. It's like they were kids at one point. Kai and Nia were like young at one point, but that was before they got their dormant elemental power unlocked. So when you get your elemental power unlocked, does that like flip an age switch? And
Yeah,
you no
like-
longer age like a normal person after that. You just get like put in stasis. Like, what does that actually like mean?
Also, can there be two elemental masters of fire?
I don't think so.
Well, they're two elemental masters at a time, so...
That's true.
Yeah,
So
they're
I guess
also
there could be.
related. So I guess you'd just have to be, like, related in order to have the same element or whatever.
That's really weird. Okay, so you could have a whole family of elemental masters of fire then, theoretically.
Little firelings.
Maybe.
And they'd all grow really, really slowly. Presumably.
Other thing
Unless
that I
they
find
don't-
interesting.
Oh, but so okay, what if let's say like Kai doesn't get his elemental powers like they're manifested, but they haven't like exposed themselves yet. They're still dormant. Would he age up past his father?
It's an interesting question.
These don't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
The questions that keep me up at night.
There were people in the live studio audience saying that Kai's dad was the elemental master, but he's not anymore. But like, my question is, do we really know that though?
Not really, not yet.
Yeah, we don't know, especially with these current episodes. Let's get into those episodes.
Well, real quick, there's one final clarification, and we were curious about how old Ninjago was, and you were talking, Var, about how there's only a 1 generation gap between the creation of the world and Wu and Garmadon being born. Tommy Anderson has said on Twitter, and I quote verbatim, "However, the battle between FSM, First Spinjitzu Master, and O, Overlord, was several thousands year ago." Like I said, verbatim.
Thousands a year. So hold
So
on.
Ninjago
character
is at least... Let's see. Oh.
It's at least thousands of years old, but that still doesn't change the fact that it was a 1 generation gap from the creation to Wu being born and like the current state. Like that was 1 generation for at least for Wu. For an elemental master, apparently their lifespan could be thousands of years. Apparently,
Yeah, was Wu
Yeah.
born before or after the Overlord battle?
Of that, I am unsure.
I don't think they really clarify that one. I would
Yeah.
assume after.
That'd be my assumption as well, but I legitimately just do not know.
So here's
Either
the
way,
question.
apparently the world is very old.
Wait, is Wu an elemental master?
We just know he's a Spinjitzu Master.
Yeah, he doesn't like seem to
He doesn't
have
have
any
an
like
element.
other powers. Yeah, maybe
Huh.
he isn't.
Maybe he's not. Maybe that doesn't affect him then.
That'd be interesting.
Okay,
And
well, I
apparently
mean,
there is still a reason for his aging thing.
Yeah.
We'll learn one day. So.
maybe.
Well,
It's like maybe he lost his like elemental power or something, and that's why his aging is so, like rapidly increasing.
There's a great comment from Prpl. Maybe God is an element.
Oh my gosh.
I am the element of God. Honestly, with the elements in this show, that would not surprise me.
Never forget that we had an element of speed. I don't know.
and Amber.
And
Lightning.
Amber.
Whatever that's supposed to be.
Elements can literally be anything nowadays.
Woo. Your speed
Woo.
form. Yeah, Woo is an element.
The element of woo. The power to woo anyone.
Oh, I'll take it. Okay,
Okay.
so let's go ahead and get into the episode, starting off with episode 69, episode 5 of Hands of Time, A Line in the Sand.
Great Linkin
So-
Park song.
It really is, though.
Okay.
The Vermilion Warriors
minute.
in this...
I'm sorry.
What?
I have to stop you because
Yes, apparently.
Princess just brought up in the live studio chat that the Hands of Time painting was literally said to have taken place 40 years ago. we looked at that time period where that painting was, and Kai and Nia were alive, like, and they were like 5 years old during that. They have to be 40 years old.
Oh my god.
Well, the explanation for that, apparently, is that the shot we saw, the painting, wasn't actually 40 years ago. It was much closer to now. Because the Elemental Masters age slowly, so they'd look virtually the same as they did 40 years ago. That would be the counter argument to that.
Wasn't the words used during that discussion 40 years, though? Didn't they say 40 years?
When that picture
In
was
that
taken?
conversation.
Yeah, in reference to the painting, it was like 40 years.
Yeah, in reference to the painting, that event that the painting was representing took place 40 years ago.
The war did, the combat thing, but not the one that...
Not the scene that we saw.
Not the one with Kai and Nia's parents. That painting
Yes, but
isn't 40 years old.
the thing is, the one with Kai and Nia's parents, the Hands of Time, were still working with the Elemental Masters. That was before they had betrayed them all. So, if anything, the scene that we saw took place before the painting that was 40 years ago. And Kai and Nia were alive in that event. So they're either 40 years or they're older than 40 years.
I don't know. I'm gonna stop trying to figure it out for now.
Tommy Anderson, if you're listening to this, please guest. Okay?
We
Please
need,
come
we
here
need
and
the
answer
official
our
Ninjago
questions.
timeline.
Join the TTV boards. Do like Q&A stuff.
That'd be cool.
Like, maybe I'm misremembering, like, the painting, but what was the battle actually... What was that representing? I can't remember.
It doesn't...
The Hands of Time were
doesn't
fighting
matter.
something, right?
There's a battle in the Hands of Time. We're fighting the Masters, and just...
They were fighting the Masters. Yeah, that was after they betrayed them. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Are you sorry?
Not really. I feel like this is a good discussion that needs to be brought up on NinjagoCast. We need our answers. And everybody watching this episode right now, I need your help. I need your guidance. Please explain to me how this is even possible.
Form a Ninjago community timeline.
Please.
Oh yes,
I
I
wonder if
actually
there was-
helped
is
work
one.
on like a fandom timeline once, but it never
You
got
what?
finished, and I don't know where it is. But
Finish it.
I mean, I don't have access to it. I don't even remember what the site was. It was like some website where you can make like what's it called, like flowcharts or something. I don't know. It was a really weird site. It was like very specialized, but I cannot remember the name.
This is
of
why
it.
I hate time.
This is why everyone hates time.
Never ends.
Okay. Let's go ahead and, once again, get into the episode. Episode 5 of Hands of Time, 69 overall, A Line in the Sand. The episode starts off, and the Vermilion Warriors are tearing apart Mega Monster Amusement Park. Ninja get there. They start fighting everyone. Antics ensue. They realize Jay isn't around. Jay, meanwhile, he's at the junkyard like he thought would be under attack, because it is. His parents are fighting them off. It's kind of funny. Antics are ensuing there, too. Back at the Hands of Time's evil lair, they're talking to Cyrus Borg, they're getting him to do stuff, and while all this is going on, the second Time Blade lands in Ninjago, and this is the one that can slow time down, so everyone gets really slow for a short period of time, and the Hands of Time realize, oh hey, it's here now. They have some funny banter about the Cyrus Borg watch, and we move on to more antics. So, eventually, the Vermilion Warriors capture Jay's mother, or, if you remember Skybound, adopted mother. I don't know if that's canon anymore, though.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And the ninja eventually all end up in the same place. They all converge on the Time Blade, and BAM! Fighting just breaks out, and I've said it time and time again, but antics are ensuing left and right. It is a madhouse. Eventually, however, the ninja are victorious. They take the Time Blade and retreat. And that's the end of the episode.
Alright. The biggest, I tell you every time I open, like my biggest problem, but like overall this episode was pretty solid. This was the better of the two, IMO. I don't really have a problem with this episode. In the grand scheme of things, just a few small scale nitpicks. One of them being, it really, really bothers me how they handled Pixel's disappearance. Because Zane had mentioned it in like the prior episode. He was like, Pixel, and then at the beginning of this episode, he says it again, like, Pixel, I need a threat analysis scan. Pixel, I need a threat analysis scan. And then he never mentions it again. For the rest of the episode and the next episode, he literally never says her name again. People always compare Pixel to Cortana from Halo. You know what happens if something's wrong with Cortana? Master Chief flips out, and there's a whole game about it.
He literally goes AWOL.
He goes AWOL to save her.
They made a bad game about it.
They made a terrible game about it. Pixel goes AWOL, and Zane's like, Pixel? Who cares? And then it's never mentioned again. It bugged me. I don't know why. Especially since it's blatantly, like, apparent that they're probably going to do something later on. Like, if they're setting up something with Pixel, at least, like, make it coherent.
Yeah.
Anyway, aside from that, my main thing with this episode, there were a number of really weird moments within it that were for comedic effect, that were funny. Like, there were the kids in the Mega Monster ride were like, so lame, not cool.
Okay, I found that really funny.
I thought it was
Prpl,
funny.
you said during the episode that they had done that before?
Yeah,
Have they done that
the two kids in the thing, one was Gene, and the other kind of looked like Brad, but he had, like, longer hair. So,
Alright, well, fair enough. It might have been a reference. I don't know. So, like, that was kind of weird. I found it funny, like, on the whole, but, yeah, they had a weird moment. They had a lot of, like, quips, like, those darn dirty snakes.
Yeah,
Like a Planet of the
the
Apes reference. That I liked. The two really odd moments were Crux Ex Machia, the new
Oh,
ship.
that was
really
really
weird.
strange.
The one hands a time brother has, like, a crush on the snake general.
That was really weird because
Especially because didn't they, like, make the snakes, the vermilion snakes? Didn't they, like, grow them?
I think they did. It hasn't really been explained all that well right yet,
Yeah.
but I'm under the impression that yes, they've grown them. So on top of being weird because it's snakes, like, I really hope no one in our audience is attracted to snakes. And yes, that is a controversial statement to make, but this is basically their children. Like, they grew
Yeah, that's the impression
these
I got.
snakes, so they're attracted to their weird snake children,
Yeah.
and I don't like that.
That's weird.
It was very weird. The other big thing, hands down the most questionable element, was Cyrus Borg's temporal anomaly locator.
Okay, come
yeah.
on.
I
Are
can't
you
shake it.
kidding
I
me?
just can't shake it. It's funny. I know it's, like, done for, like, comedic effect and plot, you know, so I'm not gonna, like, harp on it too much. It's very clearly just there to drive the plot along. So it's not like a huge deal, but why on earth would any practical person, if even such a thing was possible, why would it be built into a smartwatch? Why would you build a temporal energy locator? And he's like, man, it's a really good thing that I put this in the watch. And, like, later on, Zane's like, upgrading my temporal scanner was a good idea. And Neo's like, well, I saw the Borg watch had one, so may as well put it in.
Even
Like,
this
it doesn't-
rinky-dinky
very
little
convenient.
watch has all this super high-tech technology, then why can't
But
a literal
The
android?
thing is, it's like, it's not even just all this super high tech. You can't track time.
I mean, I guess you can, dude. It's temporal
What do you
anomaly.
think
Yeah,
dogs
dude.
do?
No.
You also can't peel a car, but apparently you can.
Okay,
You're not tracking the time, you're tracking the anomalies.
All things are
dude.
possible, man.
That was like one of my favorite
evidently.
episodes.
So,
It just-
like,
Ugh.
it was funny. The whole episode was funny. So, all in all, I think it worked. It's just there were a few of those, like, questionable moments. There was also a prolonged segment where Lloyd had a talk with the aptly named Johnny, a little kid who's, like, a fan.
Little
and he
Johnny.
was like, hey, Lloyd, where can I find the latest Ninjago episode?
No, he did not actually say that.
And, like, little
Wow.
Johnny lives in Ninjago. It was just odd. Like, Prpl remarked, like, oh, maybe they're setting him up to be the kid who's, like, a super fan of Ninjago in the next season who they had a contest about. But, like, I don't know. That'd be cool.
That'd be nice.
But that's basically all I have to say. It was funny. A couple odd moments, but it was a good episode. They had good plot, good action, good comedy. See.
Yeah, I feel like it was definitely the better of the two that we ended up watching because it had a lot of really good character moments. It was funny. It was Ninjago how it usually is. And I like that. Obviously, the temporal stuff aside, it was okay. It wasn't that horrible.
Yeah.
That,
I feel
that's
like after the
hyperbolic,
conversation we had
don't
about
get
the
me wrong.
time, like I can forgive the temporal anomaly scanner. There's bigger problems at play.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone else have anything before we move on to the next episode?
Prpl Var, what do you guys think?
We really need to start doing these one episode at a time because I always forget what happened in the first episode as opposed to like the second one where that's where my mind is.
Gotta take
Yeah,
notes. I don't know. I don't really have much to say. I liked
Yeah, I probably should take
the
notes.
cameos or whatever of the two kids and Johnny. That's funny.
Yes.
Little Johnny was funny.
But yeah, the part where like they meant to get Jay's dad but ended up getting his mom just didn't really
That
make
was
sense.
strange.
Yes.
That was quite odd. There was really no reason to do that whatsoever, aside to put her in like a damsel in distress
was
kind of a
weird.
role. Normally I don't mind that stuff too much, but that was quite blatant to me, so it stuck out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like they even said, "All right, we are going to capture him. He might be a builder or
She's a
forge,
builder
or-
too.
Well, yeah. The thing is, they wanted to capture him, but
Yeah.
they captured her, thinking she might be also. But I guess
But
never
why didn't they
went
take
back
him
to capture
too?
him.
Yeah, because he was right there. All they had to do was
Yeah.
just take him too.
Literally, they could have picked him up, and boom,
Could have been
problem.
like a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There was literally no reason to take her over him. And they have the one that's confirmed to be a builder, and one that they just kind of assume might be a builder as well. And they took the one that might be a builder as well. And the confirmed
Oh.
the builder was right there. They could have taken him too. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so I want to get in the next episode because I have a point to make that is
Two
kind of
more,
strange to me.
two more things. I forgot.
But go ahead.
Number
Certainly.
one, the other funny moment. Ninja, I have just the thing for you. Snaky snakes. And then he like throws the
Fudge.
snakes.
I forgot.
That was funny, if strange. And then finally,
That was strange.
I believe when
That's
Nia
very strange.
told Jay's dad, "Thank you, Mr. Walker," I think that's the first time they've said Jay's name in the actual show. Am I wrong about that?
I
First time I can remember.
feel like you're wrong about that. I don't think that's the first time they've acknowledged their name being Walker. But
It's the
I
first
can't
time
verify
in
that.
recent memory, at least. So I remember for a long time people debated its canonicity. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's all.
I think Cole's last name is Bucket.
I feel
You
like
walk-
that was a joke. But
You
if his
walk,
last name
mate.
really is Bucket, that's just...
Cole
Cole
Bucket.
Bucket.
You know what?
Yep.
You know what? I'm totally down. I'm
I don't mind it.
100%
Yeah,
down.
whatever.
It sounds dopey and it's appropriate for
It's
Cole.
because, like, the fandom, like, before Cole Bucket, the fandom, like, accepted name was, like, Brookstone or something. It's like, that sounds so much cooler.
Yeah.
Brookstone.
Yeah.
Brookstone.
That's dumb.
It sounds like a first and a last name.
The
But,
only
that's all.
the only thing I feel like worth saying for this episode is the same thing I've said for every episode and probably every episode since rebooted is that, man, it looks really nice. It's such a pretty show.
It
Yes,
really
the
came into
animation
play
is
with
on
this
point.
next episode.
It's gonna be really hard for me to go back to season 2 for TLDR and like have to sit through all those episodes because the show just the models and the lighting is just so much better now. It's so pretty. There was especially some really good shots where they're in the desert where like the lighting is just really really pretty and the
Yeah.
shadows and everything looked really nice. So I love the way the show looks.
For sure. That's what a budget will do for you.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Move us on. Give us a recap for the second one.
The second episode, now this is episode 6 of Hands of Time, and 70 overall, The Attack. So the ninja are back up in their base, and they're kind of messing around with the Time Blade, the one that slows down time, and, you know, that's kind of some funny banter back and forth. Meanwhile, the Hands of Time are trying to consult with their generals, who screwed up massively by losing the One Hand of Time, and so they're trying to come up with a new plan. You know, more funny banter. They're serving their role as they usually do. Meanwhile, back at the ninjas' kind of base, we see that Kai, while all the ninja are kind of bickering and like, "Oh, Lloyd, you're the leader. Wait, you're not the leader. We don't respect you." Kai is starting to have flashbacks and trying to figure out what the symbol is on the inside of one of the Vermilion Warriors' helmets.
Yeah, because he found one in the prior episode. Forgot about that.
Yes, he did, and it was kind of a minor thing there, but it is more of a major thing in this episode, so it's fine. So this is all going on, and all of a sudden, boom, a giant snake egg crashes through the window. They're under attack by the Vermilion. And so they're just being catapulted up onto the Air Jitsu Temple. Antics ensue, dragons are called, dragons are then subsequently uncalled. Battling is going on left and right. There's kind of a clunky battle. Time is going this way and that way, forward, backwards. Lloyd gets the Hands of Time. Oh yeah, the ninja win. And nope. They lose both Hands of Time, and then they lose Wu, and that's the end of the episode.
Woo-hoo.
See, this is one of those moments where, like, I love the show to death, and I don't want to come across as overly negative. 'Cause this was not a bad episode. This had some good
frustrating
moments in it. It was one of the most frustrating episodes that I can recall watching. Because we like to gripe about, like, stuff that doesn't matter, really, for, like, a kid's show, like the time travel shenanigans and, like, the occasional plot hole, because it's fun. It's fun to, like, pick apart stuff and figure out what exactly is the deal with the show and analyze it. But this episode just had some really, like, glaring moments that just kind of jumped out at you. Both our protagonists are idiots. That's really the worst one, I think. Cole, not Cole. He's not a protagonist. He's a waste of space. Kai and Lloyd, they're the protagonists. Kai, not really. Lloyd, definitely. Lloyd's an idiot. He poses, and, like, that's what lets the Hands of Time get the drop on him. Kai, the episode where the symbol was introduced, I just took it for granted that he knew what it was. I think everybody did, too. Like, he was like, oh, this is my parents' symbol. And then in the next episode, when he was freaking out about what it was, Var did a double take. He was like, wait, what? Are you telling me he actually didn't recognize the symbol? And I was like, no, Var, it's just you misunderstood the dialogue. That's not what it is. He recognized it last episode. And then I was like, wait a second. He just doesn't know what the
symbol means, that's all.
Wait a second. He legitimately didn't even recognize
He doesn't remember the symbol
of his parents' blacksmith shop. And I don't blame him, because I didn't recognize it either, because we went back and compared the first episode afterwards.
It wasn't there.
It wasn't there. The exact same spot on the flashback, just no symbol.
Nice thing that they kind of retconned into the show, which is fine. I didn't expect the symbol to be there, to be honest. That would have taken some, like, crazy planning from a very early stage to know that the symbol...
Wasn't there a symbol on the sign of the blacksmith in the pilot episode?
There might have been.
There might have been, but it certainly wasn't there on the shield like it's represented here in this episode.
Yeah.
So I can go back and check real quick, but I don't think it was there. With that said, how could he possibly not recognize the symbol of his own blacksmith?
Yeah, it's not even like a cryptic symbol or anything. It's literally like a hammer on an anvil. That's like obviously a blacksmith thing. So how could he not get this?
I could have forgiven it under one circumstance, and that is if they had done like the thing with the show where like, it was their parents' symbol, but their parents left or they died at a young age and they don't really remember too much about them, and like it was on their uniforms or whatever. But they worked in that shop. They took over that shop. In
they
the very
worked
first
in that
episode,
shop. They
that's
lived
where you
there.
Find them. They lived there.
How could they
Will
not
came along.
recognize that logo? It makes no sense. And the episode goes on this whole thing where like Kai keeps having these flashbacks of the symbol as though he has it somewhere in a deep dark memory locked away in his mind. He just can't quite pinpoint where he's seen it before. And it's literally the wall of his shop. It's his shop.
In that picture you posted in the chat, which Eljay put in the video, it looks like Nia's looking at it. Like that's where the symbol would be. The shield on the wall. She's staring at it.
She's like, it's
Man,
ridiculous.
The lighting has gotten so much better. She looks like crap at that shot.
Yeah.
She really does.
So, it's not... I don't really care that the symbol isn't there in the first episode. That's just kind of like a funny note. It's more that, like, Kai is so stupid to not recognize it. That perturbed me.
The fact that he just doesn't, like, he's struggling to pinpoint where he's seen it before. It's so irritating.
The second most irritating.
I could see if, like, he recognized it, but he was in, like, such disbelief that he didn't want to believe it. So when he, like, finally asked, like, hey, is this actually the symbol? Then it's like, oh, yeah, it totally is. But, like, no.
See, and it's also annoying because we never actually get the answer to it. Like, the characters, they open it up as though it's this big secret plot thing that we don't know as an audience. But the second you see the symbol and they show you that shield for the first time, you immediately know, oh, that's the workshop that they worked in the first episode. The first thing. But the show acts as though it's this big secret thing that no one's gonna get at all. No one remembers this shop. Everyone remembers the shop. We know what it looks like. We know exactly what it looks like. So we, as an audience, already know what the stupid thing is meant to be revealing. That, oh, that's the same symbol that was in their parents' workshop. We already know that. But the episode continues the mystery throughout the entire episode, and you never get the answer. Kai even asks Wu about it. Wu acts all shocked, like, oh, no way. Oh, no. I don't know if I can tell you the dark secret of this is actually the logo that you should recognize because it's from your home. and they continue the secret. Wu gets kidnapped and it's like, we never We never found
This
out what it
changes
means. We know what it
Everyone's
means.
just like in such disbelief, like, how is he this stupid? Like, he's got to figure
That's
it
what
out on his own,
Like,
right?
he's got to recognize it.
That's
Symbol.
what made
Surely
him
he
faint.
knows.
He was like, I've wasted my life training these stupid people.
It's insanity that I
Yeah.
can't believe it. They never address it, and that's the most frustrating part. Either it's like the characters don't progress in this episode. They reveal this plot thread here that's obvious, that it should be obvious. They should get the answer in this episode, and they don't, and that is annoying.
Yeah. The other thing that really bothers me, and I am astounded by, how long did Kai have one of these helmets in, like, episode 3, 4? Remember when they went to the museum to fight the Hands of Time? He was kind of just thumbing this thing the entire time he was there, looking it over, gave it to Sanders, he had it with him, and never once did he see that symbol. Like, other ninja put the helmet on. You have to look at the base of the helmet eventually to put that on. How did they not... I mean, Willis12 from our live studio audience says maybe that one didn't have a logo, but why not?
It's a blacksmith symbol.
Why? I mean, the impression that the show is giving us is that the Kai's parents were the blacksmiths that created this armor for these guys.
Correct.
So it would be odd for some of the helmets to not have the logo and others do have the logo. The impression would be that there were different blacksmiths working for them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what they're going for. I think it was just kind of a silly error that they didn't quite see in the show planning process there.
Definitely, because, like, it all comes down to, like, how the plot is developed. Like, this whole thing about Kaya and Nia's parents being shady characters, they're probably not going to turn out to be evil. I hope they will, but they probably not. They've probably been, like, kidnapped. They're like,
I don't have confidence that the show could commit to that.
Yeah.
I don't really... This whole thing's actually interesting. I like this plot element. Give Kai and Nia some internal turmoil, give them some plot relevance. It's neat, it's cool. I don't have a problem with this at all. It's just how it's being conveyed, how they're actually setting up the mystery. It's all about presentation for the plot, and it's really, really clunky, and it doesn't make me want to, like, root for these characters. And, like, they spend this whole episode learning this lesson. Don't get cocky, ninja. Don't rest on your laurels when you've won a battle. Don't get overconfident. Didn't we learned this like 5 times before throughout like
Maybe
4 different
too
seasons,
dense.
5 different seasons. How long does it really take to like drive the message in? I know like they like to do every episode having a moral, and I like having the ninja be fallible characters. That's all good. That's the good elements, but it gets frustrating like when you have something as stupid as Lloyd like posing and dancing and turning his back on the enemy. You know, like, I was fine with it. They were going through the
Especially when
episode.
he was the one telling them not to screw around in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, the
Actually,
intention.
Wasn't it that very same episode?
It was earlier.
Oh.
It was. Because they got the Time Blade back in the prior episode, and they were, like, partying in their Airjitsu temple earlier in the episode. And
Yeah,
Lloyd
so
was
that
like,
very
calm down.
exact same episode, he
Oh,
was
that-
saying, hey, stop messing around with the Time Blade. And then
That
he has
wasn't
two of
even
them.
the,
He's like, look at me.
That did happen in that episode. That wasn't the incident I was thinking of. I was thinking of the last episode where they were like like playing hot potato with the time blade.
Oh, yeah, that was last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, even in this episode, he's trying to tell them not to screw around, and the one moment he screws up is he screws around.
The intention, I believe, if I can put myself into the shoes of the writing team, is to show that, hey, just because Lloyd's like the main character, and just because he's the leader of the ninja doesn't mean he's better than them. He makes mistakes just like them. He has to learn just like them. He's a fallible character. And I can respect that if it was actually a new moral or a new lesson they were trying to teach, or if it was done in a more subtle way. Like, I was all fine with that moral they were trying to show, like, with them playing games with the Time Blade, and like, oh, what do you know, the villains surprised them. That's cool. It's just when they do something as stupid and over the top and not subtle as having Lloyd dance with the blades in his hand and turn his back on the enemies, I cannot take that seriously at all. We're past that. we're in season 8 or 7, depending on who you ask. By now, that's a season 1 moral, or season 2, depending on who you ask. In fact, I think they did that exact same moral when they had the ninja. I think it was the first episode.
Yeah,
of
don't
Rise
put
of
off
the
till tomorrow. What
Snakes.
can be done today, or something.
Yeah, when they were like playing video games and eating pizza, and then like the serpentine came out. That was the very first moral of the show.
That is very true.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
yeah, I'm not a fan of either. A couple of things to touch on real quick. Lloyd, he summons his dragon, and oh yay, finally they remember they can do this. Summons his dragon, and for some reason Kai's like, hey, don't, I think it was Kai, don't fall off the dragon. They might do something. You might fall or whatnot. And like he gets scared of something, and the dragon goes poof, and he starts to fall.
One of the snakes does like a jump scare on him. Because, like, remember they had this thing in the past that they couldn't summon their dragons due to fear.
But, yeah, and like, that makes sense, don't get me wrong. But he's falling. Jump scare happens, he's falling. He's summoned the dragon before when falling.
Yes.
During the tournament arc, that was a plot point. His father is going, don't rely on your power! And boom! Dragon right before they hit the ground after they got chucked out of that plane. Why is that so difficult now? It was just one guy going boo.
Can we go back to Tournament of Elements?
Yeah, that was such a good season. Oh my gosh.
I miss Tournament of Elements.
It's weird. It's really weird. Even like the fight scenes in this episode are all kind of clunky and not really well animated either. I found like there's a lot of the framing and like camera work in this episode. The camera work in Ninjago has always been terrible. IMO. There's just so many like weird camera angles where the camera's moving, like panning one direction, and suddenly it juts to another direction and does like some crazy 360 nonsense. Here, the just the framing and the general like cinematography of everything was just all over the place, and like certain shots just did not translate well, where like there were bits and pieces where like characters would jump into the air and I couldn't even tell who jumped. Like there was a scene where like I think it was Acronix and Lloyd jumped into the air to like clash their time blades, and it like Lloyd was silhouetted and it had just cut from a frame where Nia was running, so it looked like Nia had jumped into the air, but it was Lloyd, and it just didn't make any sense visually. It was like visual mush.
Oh yeah, and the
there was
part where
also a
like
scene-
Nia lifted her hood and immediately
Yeah, I was about to
Lloyd.
get to that. There was a scene too where Nia is staring out into the distance and she lifts up her hood, and like midway through lifting up her hood, it cuts to Lloyd taking off his hood right at the point where Nia left off. So it looks like Nia lifted up her hood to reveal Lloyd's face.
Yeah.
It's just weird cutting like this that it's just bizarre, and it really takes me out every time I see something like that. It's like, who directed this?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
sad.
other thing, Samurai X makes its grand reappearance,
Didn't
and
speak.
we have did not speak. We have absolutely no idea who piloted it, why it was there, because Lloyd is falling. He's about to become a Lloyd pancake, and then Samurai X swoops in. The Mac, by the way, just the Mac swoops in, catches him, puts him right back on the island, and then flies off and gets promptly shot down.
That was actually really funny. I thought that was hilarious. Samurai X just saves everybody, and everyone's like, yeah, you go, Samurai X. You're a real cool dude. Nia's still frustrated, but she's like, whatever. I still hate you. And as he's flying off, just murdered in midair. They're all like, oh!
That was one of my favorite moments.
It was really funny.
There were good elements. For as much as I take away points, I must give praise as well. The fight scene, not so much the specific combat, because we covered that it was clunky, but rather like the whole framing. It was basically an entire episode-long fight sequence, was basically what it was. It reminded me very heavily of the second-to-last episode of BIONICLE, The Journey to One, where the beasts are attacking the ancient city, and the Toa and like the villagers have to like band together and fend them off, except like this was done better, I think. Not because of actual like choreography, but because of like they kept upping the stakes with like each encounter, and it worked well. They had like, first of all, they just launch people up, they dispatch them, then they launch up the big boy, the giant snake monster, they dispatch them, then they launch like paratroopers, and then Lloyd like does the dragon to try to counter the forces down below, and then they launch the paratroopers, they fly all around, then the Hands of Time join the fray, then Makia joins in, and it's like it just constantly keeps getting worse and worse, and at the end the ninja realized like they didn't just lose the fight, they lost basically everything. The bounty's like been blown up or at least damaged, like the Samurai X mech's done, they stole Wu, they lost both time blades.
By the way, Wu did not, like, I know Wu is weak, but man, he really did not put up a fight against going with him, like, at all.
He basically just went with them.
Definitely. So like it was more like the specifics I didn't really like, but like thematically and the theming of the episode, I do like how stakes were raised and the ninja were dealt a pretty crushing blow, I'd have to say.
Yeah. It was substantial. This is one of their worst losses.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But it's just, it makes, the ninja power set is really frustrating. Like, Eljay, you brought up the point how they always seem to forget about their elemental powers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really apparent in this episode. Like, they just kind of, like, conveniently know how to use elemental powers when it works in their favor, but, like, there are so many moments where they could use elemental powers and just, like, you know, stop the fight right then and there and win, and they just don't. They just never use them. It just doesn't matter.
I did appreciate an episode before this one where Jay was just blasting everybody with lightning with, like, no restraint. They do it occasionally, just not when it, like, actually makes sense.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. They should be using it all the time. The only reason they're not is because the plot doesn't want them to.
You know, it's like, write a plot that allows them to use their powers, and if they can't use their powers, then don't give them powers in the first place.
Yeah, because usually the ninja get their powers taken away because instead of making their villains stronger, the usual instance of storytelling in Ninjago is to weaken the ninja, not strengthen the villains.
Even in the live studio audience, Prentice just pointed out, like, Spin Jitsu is literally in the title, and when was the last time I've seen them use Spin Jitsu? Like,
they used it in those episodes.
But
yeah, they used it a few times.
One time
I got
even that really cool
by
scene where they were slowed down while spinning, and you can kind of see like the fragments of their element. That was neat.
True. That was awesome. That was a good visual effect. But that was like the one time they use it, they get slowed down. They used it in this episode briefly to dispatch the first few Vermilion, and then they didn't use it again, to my knowledge.
Right. That's what I was getting at. Is like they use it occasionally, but I don't understand why they don't just like. Okay, the glaring flaw. Prpl, you pointed this one out while we were watching it.
Yo.
As they fly away after capturing Wu, all they have to do is just summon their dragons. The fight does not need to be over. They just immediately give up and they're like, "Man, we lost." But no, get on your dragons and continue fighting them. Chase them.
It's like they literally used the dragons in the same episode, like a few minutes before. So it's just, why can't you do that?
Why
like,
aren't
if you're
you
too scared, then just ride on someone else's dragon. Like, that's possible.
Speaking of when Wu escaped, sorry to keep nitpicking, I just had two more things to comment on. You just reminded me. Wu climbs up on the ladder of his own volition. Like, he was being threatened, but, like, he was the third one up. Makia waited for, like, a full second before, like, she jumped up after him, and he was just, like, climbing up, and he could have easily, like, jumped off the ladder. Or, like, fell down, and, like, what would have happened? He was, like, a foot off the ground.
Oh, so yeah, that was my thing. It's like he didn't give any kind of effort at all to not be captured.
And then second of all, when they actually, like, cut away from that, and Misako, like, threw the frying pan, Wu was the last one up, and Makia was in front of him. So they switched their positions mid-shot, unless I'm misremembering.
Which is even worse, because if he was last, he literally could have just jumped off. I mean, there's really no reason why he couldn't have jumped off regardless, whether Makia was behind him or not.
I'm too weak.
Like, anything that he could have done to delay them would have been enough for the ninja just to continue fighting and just either retreat or do anything. It's just ridiculous.
Can't have that. It would make things too simple.
True.
Yeah, kind of like how Wu can't just say, like, a simple answer of, "Hey, what is this logo?" "Oh, well, you see, that's a logo of your parents' blacksmith shop. Do you not remember that?" And Kai would be like, "Oh, so my parents worked for them?" And Wu could have been like, "Yeah, but don't worry, it wasn't like what you think. It's like they kind of they were forced into it. Blah 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 blah." You know, things can be resolved so easily if people just said things.
He like had a heart attack, and then later on, all he could get out was, "Your father."
Yeah. Honestly, it's just, like, I understand that two fundamental things. One, I understand it's a show made primarily for a younger audience, and of course we're just looking far too into it. It's not aimed at us.
100%.
I understand that
That's what we do.
completely.
Well,
and
of
a
course.
lot of this, I'm sure, is going to come off to whoever is watching as probably way too harsh, really antagonistic, really nitpicky. For all full disclaimer, we love the show, we love the series, watch this show, it is really entertaining. And I understand that there are certain writing tropes that you need to adhere to have a story, and that they need to fill a 10-episode slot. That being said, it feels that all of these episodes are basically Ninjago Hands of Convenience.
That's what it feels like. This whole season.
Well, see,
is just
it's not
odd.
even like it's not like the show is incapable of producing episodes that are well thought out and like really overall like well structured because it's done it before. These episodes so far though have not impressed us.
No.
So I don't know.
The finale, wow. The finale better be like really good or something.
Yeah. Ninjago
see.
finales tends to be good. I feel
My
like-
thing is, I don't think they're gonna commit to any of these like story elements they're bringing up. I don't think they're gonna commit to the parents being evil or anything. And it would probably work. It would make the season actually very interesting and cool if the parents were evil. I just don't think they're gonna commit to it.
Nope. They're gonna be like captors or like, oh, they said they'd hurt you my children if we didn't help them.
Yeah.
Or like,
Or they're gonna
Something.
reverse time and undo it or something.
Okay.
Oh god,
That's-
no.
That's the one thing I do like so far. Well, not the one thing. One of the major things is that we're using time in like fight situations. We're using it for combat, which is a head scratcher because like sometimes the logistics of that are unclear. But I can get behind that a lot more than trying to like change time through time travel or like sending yourselves back in time to change things.
Oh, that is
Now,
true.
the villain's plan, he said it himself in another episode, he was like, we're going to revert Ninjago to its pre-modern glory. So presumably their plan is to build a machine capable of generating enough temporal energy to roll back the clock on Ninjago for whatever reason. I don't know why they'd want to do that, or why the younger brother would go along with that, but
Maybe he won't, and
that
that's who
seems to be
defeats
their plan.
them in the end.
Now wouldn't that be interesting? A man's love for his smartwatch outweighs world domination. I could get behind that. Yeah, I don't know, because like so far they've neglected to do anything with time, and if they were going to, they would have set that up by now. We only have 4 episodes left, so we might have been saved from that particular questionable element.
Do we only have 4 episodes left?
We do.
That is
It's a
correct.
10-episode season.
Man.
2 more episodes of this show, and then it's on the bench for a while. All right.
Well,
Alright, well, no, it's just interesting episodes. I am, of course, looking forward to what's next.
Definite.
And-
show.
If there are any further clarifications, please leave them in the comments or tweet at us. Do all that stuff. Be greatly appreciated.
Definitely.
Eventually, see, Kahi always envisioned NinjagoCast only lasting like a couple of episodes because of the show. I really want to go further because it's obvious we have stuff to talk about.
We can talk about the stupid timeline for a
Complain
whole
about it.
episode.
Oh
I
my
think.
god.
Yeah.
I feel like we
100%.
need to dedicate one episode after all this is over to just trying to figure everything out.
Well, I mean, sure. Like the thing with Ninjago, like we did an episode by episode rewatch a while ago when Var was first watching it. I feel like that was the time we probably should have started our Ninjago podcast because I have a bunch of stuff I could talk about with Ninjago. It's just a lot of the stuff's so old, like we've forgotten it. We need like a spark, some inspiration to actually get us in the groove of talking about it. Give us something to talk about, a discussion of some kind. It's like with BIONICLE, you can't just manufacture something out of thin air. But I would like to try. I want to try.
Actually.
What?
We've determined that we can very definitely manufacture a Bionicle discussion of thin air.
Manufacture.
Manufacture.
Manifest, manufacture, yeah.
There we go.
Either way, yes, we should do an episode about the time thing after this, and then see where that takes us.
I think good places is where that will go. Okay, well, in that case, that pretty much wraps up this episode. Episode 3 of NinjagoCast. Thank you all very much for watching and or listening. Feel free to participate in the bouquet of support. Patreon, comments, watching the video, liking it, sharing it, etc., etc. If you want to be part of our live studio audience here on Patreon, go here on Discord, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/TTB channel, and we have a variety of different tiers that you can donate to. and we do greatly appreciate it due to YouTube. It definitely does help us out.
It's a
So
fun
thank-
place to be.
It is. It's a blast. Thank you all very much for watching. I'm LJ.
I'm fine.
I'm Meso.
And I'm Prpl.
And this has been NinjagoCast, Masters of Podjitsu. Class is dismissed.